Peace, guys. It's me, Arlene J. Ramsey, CEO and founder of Everyone Let's Talk, also your favorite self-wealth mentor. So this segment, we're going to break down or just say discuss why or how having a better appreciation for people and the world overall stems from not taking yourself for granted. I know these words are a little bit cliche, and people have had so many different narratives and perspectives on what this means. So let me give you a little bit of my perspective on how did I even come to this realization. So just give you a background about myself. I'm the type of individual that a problem or a challenge is a problem is a challenge, and it's nothing for me to figure out a way to overcome and create a good situation, not just for me, but other people who are involved or connected from my ability to solve the problem. Excuse me. This has been me for years and years and years. I do know that there's people that I've interacted with or that I've had, exchanges with who have not appreciated me or who have taken me for granted, and I never understood why. And this is not to say anything negative about anybody. I have no hard feelings, but I always couldn't understand why I was taken for granted. And I also think it has a lot to do with me being abused and the type of energy that has been following me. It reeks from me. So I give off a certain level of energy, and it projects from my self-esteem, and people pick up on that. So for some people, I come off as an individual that they can use, right? Not knowing that I don't have that. I don't see that way about me at all. I see myself as like a hero. I got the S on my chest. I'm putting on my cape and I'm coming to save the world. And that also stems from the environment that I came from, and me just building this mindset of not ever wanting to see things go wrong, because I don't want to see people hurt the way I used to hurt, or in situations where they may not be hurt, but they're dealing with trouble after trouble after trouble because of bad situations, or because the people around them were unable to make good decisions on their own. Okay, so I say this to say that I became this person. Plus, it's my nature to. I'm a mutable sign. I'm a Sagittarius. So the other challenge with this is that I haven't learned to put up boundaries. When you listen to other motivational speeches, or you just listen to people in general, people will say you have to set boundaries. Like, setting boundaries is priority. It's number one. Well, for me, setting boundaries wasn't priority because I was always confident that I would find a way to solving any problem because of the way I thought. So I always thought, if it doesn't work this way, I'll try the next solution. And my brain is always like, here's the challenge, and I've already computed 4 or 5 different ways to solve this challenge. So if way number 1 doesn't work for some people, way number 2 will. Or let me just put it this way. After we weigh all the options, now we'll go on to select the best option that is good for everybody involved. And that's the role that I've always played in life, not realizing that I've caused people to become how can I say, ungrateful and unappreciative. They don't know it, and I didn't know it, right? Because I was so focused on myself, and still not even understanding the essence of what it takes to be me. Therefore, I wasn't even able to appreciate me. I just never thought about appreciating myself, so some of you are like, well, how did you come to this realization now? I'm about to be 42 years old next week. So here's how I came to this conclusion now. In the summer, I was renting from a woman. I live here in Newark, New Jersey. I was renting from a woman who, rented out her attic to me. And shortly after, I started to see paranormal activity. in her house. Okay. And I picked up that she was not the type of person that was privy to having open dialogue to things that make her feel uncomfortable. But being that I knew her on a personal level and knew her from doing things in the community, I thought that I was just going to take it upon myself to go figure this thing out, spend so much money figuring it out, solving the problem as best that I could, and then came back to her with information and facts, not just from what my intuition told me, but from actual facts, and that didn't work well. Make a long story short, things got very ugly due to her behavior, not necessarily me, because I wasn't angry. I looked at the situation as no one asks for ghosts to be in their house, right? So if you have paranormal activity in your home, you certainly didn't call them there. They got there, and there's a reason why they're there. And sometimes it's from you and you don't know it, but you don't know that there's actual spirits or ghosts in a house. And it's there unintentionally because of either your energy or someone else's energy, or that's just where they feel comfortable being. Making a long story short, things got ugly. We ended up in court, and I am no longer at that house. And I was angry for a long time because I wanted to know, how did I do such a, how can I say, helped out in a situation with good intent. And this woman, knowing me from community meetings and knowing who I am, and then she turns out to be somebody that I wouldn't have expected her to be. Meanwhile, I wasn't the only person who told her that something's not right with the house. She couldn't keep tenants. So she couldn't even use her common sense, or maybe, let me just say this, didn't care to want to face it, that there was even a problem. And that's the thing. When you're dealing with other people, you don't know other people's temperament and their ideology on life and how they deal with life. Okay? So from that got me to thinking, like, wow, I went through a lot of emotional distress at that house. And, it would have been easier for me to just pick up and say, I'm out of here. But being me, being the inquisitive person and the problem solver that I am, and I'm so confident, like, to the point of cockiness, like, yeah, I got this under control. I'm going to figure this, get to the bottom of this shit. We're going to figure it out, solve the problem, and then, hit her on the other end like, bam, listen, this is how much I spent, but this is what's been happening, and this is why it's been happening. That went dismissed, disrespected. My efforts were not taken into consideration. I wasn't taking into consideration as to how I felt. Possession is real. Some people, get possessed. That didn't happen to me. And there was no discussion of, well, wow, I wonder how you must have felt going through all of that. And there was no room to even have that discussion because this individual wanted to be in denial. She was delusional about what was going on in her house. Okay. So fast forward, having, dealings with other people of late. And this is the thing, this is the wonderful thing about the universe. The universe has a wonderful way of teaching you. And when it sees that you're at a certain stage in your life and there's certain lessons and principles that you haven't learned, things will start to happen so that you can learn the lesson and the principle. So I'm saying this to say, I'm not, and by no means am I angry about the things that's happening, but I was starting to question, why did it happen? And it still didn't get through to my thick skull, right? So, other things would happen, whereas, and this is the other thing, I'm the type of person that likes to keep my word. My word always, I don't want to say always, but I tend to stress the integrity. So when I say I'm going to do something, 9 times out of 10, I do it. And if I don't do what I say I'm going to do, something very serious has happened where that took first priority. And that rarely happens because I live my life in a way, whereas I was proactive. So I made sure that my decision-making process covered a lot of bases. So things weren't just haphazardly happening in my life, right? So that allowed for me to be even more confident about how I moved in the world and how I moved with other people, leaving no room for me to learn how to appreciate myself or learn how to set boundaries. And not even realizing that that is a thing that like I used to watch people come on Oprah years ago or just other shows, and they're talking about setting boundaries, and I used to be like, you guys are making a big deal about setting boundaries. Like, so what? Like, because I understand, here's the other thing I understand. I'm very good with handling myself. I don't let anyone disrespect me or cross the line. Once it gets to the point where a person thinks that it's okay for them to cross the line, that's when I shut it all the way down. And I don't have any problem doing that. So I never, and I have to laugh about it because it's like that aha moment. I just never understood why setting boundaries was such a big deal. And that's how I was like, wow, like, are you guys serious? Okay, excuse me. So, I go on and live life and things continue to happen back to back. And I'm like, this is not what I'm accustomed to. And the things that are happening are things that's pretty much out of my control. Now, when I say out of my control, I mean, it's not from my personal doing. Like if I'm interacting with other people and I do my part. And in order for things to go as planned, that other person has to do their part. And when it comes to the other person doing their part, it may be on shaky ground. And it may not be what we first discussed. And I couldn't understand. And this is what got me to start thinking about people and their thought process and how people make decisions and not take other people into account, especially if we've discussed certain things up front. You would think that that would be right here in the front. Before you make a decision, how is this going to affect what we agreed on? And again, I'm not angry at anyone, but it just opened my eyes to the fact that people in the world literally don't have a measurer of how to make good, balanced decisions that will positively affect themselves and everyone that's connected to them. Many times they make short-sighted decisions just for themselves. But where does that leave the other people that they're connected to? And then when I think about me, if I I exert so much energy and so much thinking power and juice to solve a problem, and then that goes to the wash. That goes out with throw the baby out with the bathwater. That went straight out in the wash because of someone else's ideology and mindset, their decision-making process, which I have no control over. And then other things would happen, whereas I say I'm going to do something, next thing you know, something happened with the car. That's unexpected, a couple of tires blew out, or something happened where the car is not running properly and I need to get it running properly. So now I have to go to the mechanic and spend money and spend time. Things like that was happening, whereas it was unexpected. And I'm sitting here thinking, why are these things, like I've never had issues with my car like that. And, I just never had those issues. And then one day it hit me. Ding, 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 ding. It hit me. When I stayed home, when I was forced to stay home when those things happened, I was also able to just relax. And I could feel myself from here, because I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I'm to solve a problem or get things going, I can feel my adrenaline going. In a positive way, but I can feel my adrenaline rising because I'm getting ready to get busy, right? That's a lot of energy. My adrenaline is rising. When I'm forced to stay home, it's from here and it starts receding. And I start getting to a place of calm. And I start feeling good. I'm feeling good. Whereas before, I can feel, I was always comfortable with being by myself and sitting around and not doing anything if I choose to. However, I was always putting myself in a position where I can help somebody. You call me and I pick up the phone on the first or the second ring. Most people think I don't have anything else going on in my life, and that is so not true. Because I was just so conditioned to urgencies, I conditioned myself as an adult to always be available because you just never know what's going on in somebody's life, why they're calling me. And I don't want to be the person that you called for my help and then something happened to you. So I always wanted to make sure I'm available. I could be in the middle of something because I'm a good multitasker and I'm able to solve problems in a good way. So I'm so confident that I'm like making myself available, not paying attention or to the energy that I'm exerting, or even appreciating the fact that God has given me the ability to perform in this way, and provided me with the level of energy to perform in this way. It is my entire makeup that God has given me in which I can do, because some people wish they can do it and they just don't have the energy power, the willpower, or the thinking ability to do that. So I never even sat back to just say, wait, woosah, breathe in and out. And even include the way that I was made up in my prayer to thank God for giving me this ability. I never thought about doing that. Never thought about doing that. And then this is when it hit me as far as boundaries is concerned. When I think about people who take me for granted, I'm like, well, that's because I took myself for granted. And that's when it hit me. When I take myself for granted and really understand the essence of what it takes for me to be me and do what I do, and I would appreciate it. Appreciate it. You know how some people talk? How they start appreciating things more if they got into a bad car accident and they broke a leg, or they were paralyzed for a while and then now they're walking again and they learned how not to take things for granted. Well, it's almost in this way but I haven't gone through any type of physical tragedy like that. I went through a lot of emotional things after dealing with my sister's death and my cousin's death and those sort of things. Yeah, I dealt with it. But, you know, I haven't had any physical changes to my body. So I say this to say to you, you don't have to wait until you get into a car accident or something tragic happens in the family in a physical way for you to learn to appreciate life. Take some time for yourself on the weekend, because I know it may be hard during the week because you work and all of this. And for those of you who don't have a 9-to-5 and you can find time to do it, take some time to do this and make it a part of your meditation. Study who you are and what it takes for you to do the things that you do, and learn to appreciate that. And when you start appreciating yourself, you will learn how to set the boundaries. It'll be very easy for you, and it wouldn't be from a place of attitude or judgment. It will be from a place of, wait a minute, before I step out to do this, let me check to see what it takes for me. What skill sets and what energy will it take for me to do this? And is it worth me doing this? You know, because at some point you would have to say, listen, it doesn't make sense for me to exert myself doing so many things when there's no reciprocity, right? Because when people take you for granted, are they going to return the favor? When they look at you as the superhero, who checks on the superhero to make sure the superhero is okay? So it's not even that, sometimes they're not doing it on purpose. It's just that you make them a thief of your energy and your superpower, and you don't even know it. And they don't know it. So, you know, this is today's video. I hope it, you know, it's a powerful impact on you and it just clicks something on you. And if you were having a hard time setting boundaries, here's a sure way, an easy way to give you to setting boundaries for yourself. And it's a polite way. You know, now you have something, you have grounds to stand on. Like, listen, do you understand the energy that it takes for me to do this, that, and the third? The mindset I have to switch gears. That's like, you know, you're driving a race car and you're driving 30 miles an hour, and for you to go 100 miles an hour, you got to put it in gear and kick up. But what happens to that car when you put it in gear? Although it performs, the car goes through some changes before it can go into that gear and perform at that speed that you need it to perform in. And that's what we need to start looking at. Or that's what you can start looking at, you know, and I hope this video does it for you. So, Very important as well. Mutable signs, it's a challenge for us to set boundaries because of the things that I just said earlier. We have the God-given ability to easily adapt. The mutable signs are Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo. There are things that we are resilient to because we're still resilient to certain principles. And then there are other things that we easily adapt to and we don't even know we're adapting because that is first nature for us. That's basic nature for us. So we do it without realizing it. And on the flip side, people take advantage of that because they don't understand the greatness in that, because you don't understand the greatness in it. You just do it. So some people think that you're a gopher or a doer. They think that because you're so easy to accommodate the situation. They think because you have some people that's in the world they got, issues with power, and their intent is to dominate the people that they're around. So here comes, they interacting with a mutable sign, and you don't see that. All you see is that you have the ability to switch gears and yield and find different ways to solve a problem or different ways to get along with people. Somebody else with a different intention will look at that or read that as something else. They will read that as you not being confident and you thinking that they're the dominant one, causing them to disrespect your whole existence. So that's the whole thing. And, sometimes people mistake your identity and you don't know why. Or they think that they can treat you a certain way and you don't know why. Well, this could be part of the reason why. I don't live your life, so I don't know who you interact with or what goes on per se. But this is just a way to look at things so you can have that, as I say, aha moment. All right, so I'm going to leave you guys with that. I hope I didn't leave anything out with setting boundaries, right, understanding the essence and what it takes for you to do what you do and be you, okay, taking more time to relax, and in that time of relaxation, enjoy it. You don't need to be everywhere doing everything after a while. After a while, it's okay to stay put and select what you choose to involve yourself in. And this is not to say that you need to have things right away, like a return on your investment right away. No, right? And this is not to say that you need to become a narcissist or self-absorbed, because some people may look at it and say, well, no, you're trying to show people how to be self-absorbed. No, people who are self-absorbed half the time don't even appreciate themselves. And narcissists, they don't appreciate themselves. What they do is that they don't want to be left holding a bag that they should be holding. So they look to make sure that they manipulate people the way they need to manipulate people so that life can become easy for them. That's the lens that they work for, making life easy for them by manipulating other people. So they are very astute as far as their assessment of character, and they know who can be manipulated into doing what. So they know how to mentally place you and define you in a box and put you in a role, and you don't even know it. That's just their God-given ability, and it's a great ability if they can learn to use it for better intentions. You understand? But when they don't use it, when they don't have good intentions behind it, then it becomes a problem. So, we're beautiful people in this world. God has given all of us great abilities. Some of us have learned at an early age to, have good intentions and have a purpose, a good purpose behind what we're doing. And we use those abilities and gifts in that purpose. And then some don't really have too much of a good direction. Their only purpose is to make life comfortable for them. And you will be manipulated and used in a way so that can happen for them. So no, they don't appreciate themselves. It seems that way because it seems like they get everything that they want. But they know that they have the ability to do that, but they don't even really and truly understand the essence of it, some of them. And they don't even really and truly appreciate themselves, because if they did, they wouldn't act in that way to that extreme, because some of them end up dealing with people who don't have patience for them, who disrespects them. And what self-respecting individual wants to deal with people or put themselves in situations where people are always disrespecting them. So, that's a clear sign that they still don't appreciate themselves. But this video is just to shed some light on to you on how you can just learn to appreciate what it means to be you and what you do. And from there, you'll find a newfound appreciation for yourself. And in turn, you will find ways on how to appreciate other people. It always starts with you, the I, the me factor. Anything that you've learned how to do or that you have within will spill over to your peers. When you love yourself properly and you have healthy self-esteem, you can't help but to protrude that out onto other people that you're interacting with. And you can only love people to the capacity that you have loved yourself. So when you say that people fall short, I don't think it's that they fall short. It's just that that's what people are capable. That's their capacity at this time in their life. And that should also teach you on how not to have expectations for other people and only have it for yourself. Only have it for yourself. And you lead by that example. Okay? That's it for today. You enjoy the rest of your Friday afternoon. And until the next day, peace.